Growing up, we're taught to push harder and hustle more, and that we have to be the same every single day no matter what. But if you have a menstrual cycle, your energy, your brain chemistry, your mood, it's all going to change. Your needs will change week to week. And it's not a flaw, it's not a fault in the system. It's your feminine power, and you can learn how to embrace it and use it to your advantage. When my PMDD got really bad, I felt so out of control. One week I just couldn't even get out of bed, and other weeks I felt on top of the world. And it felt like I was always taking one step forward and 2 steps back, because I was doing great for half the month, and then the second half of the month I was having an absolute breakdown, and I just felt like I was stuck in a constant cycle of pushing forward and then being pushed back by my body. And for a long time I was so in denial about it. I just hoped that the next month would be different and that I would stay in my up phase, and then every month it would just destroy me. I just wanted to focus on the times that I felt good, and I didn't want to think about the fact that I might start feeling really crap again in a week or two. But whether I wanted it to be or not, the pattern was there. And when I started working with it, instead of trying to ignore it or working against it, that's when things really changed and got better for me. Cycle isn't chaos. It's a beautiful rhythm, a symphony that your body wants you to hear. And this is why I think for anyone with a cycle, it's so important to be aware of how it affects you and how your needs and mood and energy and focus, how everything changes depending on what time of the cycle you're in. After I came out of an abusive relationship where I'd been burning out constantly and never listening to my own needs, I had to start again. So I got really good at planning. And what I started to do was look ahead at my month and figure out what my strengths and my weaknesses were going to be at each time. So I started planning around it, and the most amazing thing happened. It actually made me a more balanced, fulfilled person overall, because not only was I able to prioritize my work at certain times of the month, knowing that in the second phase of my cycle I would struggle with certain tasks, it actually allowed me to focus more on every area of my life, because I decided this time of the month is when I need to really focus on my self-care, on my body, on my emotions. I prioritized those things in the phase that I found it harder to work and socialize and get on with my partner and my family. And as a result, I achieved this balance that I didn't know was possible. And I think the key is not to try and fit everything in your life into one day. How are we supposed to do that? We're meant to what? Get up, get ready, have breakfast, commute, go to work, commute on the way back. Then we're supposed to go to the gym, interact with our families and our partners, maybe our children. You know, if you're someone who meditates, you've got to fit that in somewhere. Maybe you've got to make healthy meals 3 times a day. Maybe you've got to speak to your mum on the phone every day. How are we supposed to focus on all these things across all areas of our life every single day? And the answer is you're not. And no wonder you're burning out if you're trying to do this. And no wonder you're feeling bad, like you're never ahead of things. No wonder you're not feeling like you've achieved enough in a single day, because you shouldn't be measuring yourself on just one day. You should be measuring yourself across your whole cycle. Men have daily hormone rhythms where their testosterone is higher in the morning and it levels off in the evening. So the working day is designed around being productive in the morning and early afternoon, and then resting in the evening. No one takes this stuff into account when it comes to women, because during our second phase of our cycle, called the luteal phase, that's when we have reduced energy. That's when our hormone called progesterone is telling us to wind down. It's telling us to not go out and be as social. In the first half of your cycle, your estrogen is high, and the estrogen makes you feel more confident, more sociable, more like putting yourself out there. It gives you high energy. It makes you want to go out and do things and achieve things. So that time of your cycle is brilliant for asking for a promotion, giving a speech, having meetings, socializing, organizing a social event, focusing on your work goals. The second half of your cycle, your estrogen is lower and your progesterone is higher. And your progesterone, when you don't have PMDD, I'll go on to PMDD later, but when you don't have PMDD, your progesterone is a relaxing hormone. It reduces your anxiety, but it also makes you want to stay in, makes you want to spend more time introspecting by yourself, and makes you want to avoid social situations more. And it can also reduce your energy to want to go out and do things. You're more likely to want to stay home and make everything really neat and sit with some candles and read a book and have a chill time. That's progesterone. And the evolutionary reason for this is that in the first half of your cycle, you're building up to ovulation, which is when you can get pregnant. And the increase in the estrogen hormone is making you want to go out and socialize because you're more likely to go out and get pregnant if you do that. However, after you ovulate, in the second half of your cycle, your progesterone is increasing and you're not in your fertile window anymore. Your body is hoping that you've become pregnant during your ovulation window, and now it's telling you to stay home, relax, chill, and protect the potential baby. So that's why your body reacts the way it does. For thousands of years, we spent most of our time pregnant. Fortunately, these days we don't have to do that anymore and we can focus on other things. But this doesn't mean that we should be ignoring these rhythms that our body has. And we should be using them to our advantage instead of just dismissing them and trying to pretend like we're mini men and that our hormones are basically the same all the time, because they're not. I'm so grateful that I realised this, because now I feel so much happier and more balanced and well-rounded in my life. So when I started planning my work, my goals, my self-care, my tidy times, my social life, all around the phase of my cycle, my productivity actually increased. I reached my goals faster because I was working with my body and not against it. I actually spent more quality time with my family, more quality time with my friends, because I wasn't forcing myself to speak to my family and see my friends, where I was in a phase where I didn't feel like it. And you can think of your cycle as 4 seasons, if you will. You have your period. Your period is your winter. This is when your hormones are the lowest. And it is a great time for planning the month ahead, for refreshing your goals, and for really being able to step back and look at what's most important. It's a time of high intuition. The second phase, still in the first half, is your follicular phase, or your spring. This is when your energy starts to increase. You start taking on new things and dreaming big. And you reach your ovulation window, which is the summer, and you have peak confidence and your communication is really flowing. In the last phase, which is the luteal phase or autumn, that's when you start to wind down. And that doesn't mean just sit around all day. It means doing more easy admin type tasks. Although having said that, don't do admin during luteal phase if you have PMDD, because those tasks can get really annoying. So I actually avoid doing those as well. I do tasks that are more straightforward and kind of almost boring or repetitive, that require less imagination, energy or creativity. So I do those during my luteal phase. And finish up any project you started when you were really excited. Imagine a body where you're not constantly burning out, but you're riding the natural waves. Cycle can be your greatest productivity hack if you know how to use it. So for me, reclaiming my cycle wasn't just about productivity. And this is such an important topic for me, because when I came out of my abusive relationship, this is when I started really taking care of myself from beginning to end of my month and prioritizing what I needed at each time. Reclaiming my cycle was about taking control, taking my power back. So unfortunately, society wasn't built around female rhythms, and sometimes you're going to have to probably go to a big family event when you're not in an ideal phase of your cycle. But by taking care of yourself where you can most of the time, overall self-care and resilience will increase, I promise. This is particularly good for me because I have PMDD. Unfortunately for people with PMDD, progesterone actually has the opposite effect. Progesterone can actually cause a lot more anxiety and trouble sleeping, which can lead to a lot of emotional reactivity and anger. But again, being aware of this can help you to put things in place to manage these better. For example, I up my meditation during the second phase of my cycle. I go to yoga 3 times a week instead of twice, just because I know that I need it more during that time. And the rest of the time I have more time for other things. But during the autumn phase is when I really put in preventative systems. I tell my partner, who has ADHD, so it can be a nightmare, I tell him to be extra tidy when I'm in my luteal phase. So please consider planning your goals and your life around your cycle so that you're not fighting yourself anymore. Your cycle is your superpower, so it's time to reclaim it. Feel free to reach out to me whether you've noticed these energy changes throughout your cycle. Let me know in the comments what's one thing you will do to be more aligned with your cycle. I used to beat myself up so much for not achieving everything every single day. I used to get to the end of the day and feel like I was at work all day, but I didn't go to the gym, I didn't meditate, I didn't call my mum. I was trying to force myself to cram everything into one single day because I thought that being balanced, successful, or having my shit together meant that I needed to be perfect every single day, that I needed to do everything in one day all the time. And I don't measure myself that way anymore. That wasn't serving me. How I do measure myself is over the whole month. And when I look back at my month and see what I achieved by prioritizing these different things in different weeks, I'm shocked, honestly. And if you do this, you will be too. And you'll be so proud looking back at the previous month. If you're on your period and that's when you decide you're going to plan for the new month and reflect back on the month that just passed, you will be amazed to see how much you've achieved in one month. And trust me, it will be even more than if you kept trying to do everything every day. Because if you do that, you're just going to burn out. So if this resonated with you, please like and subscribe and let me know in the comments on what you're going to do, what you're going to prioritize at different times. I'm interested in knowing, I'll respond. I just want to connect with people about this stuff because I'm really excited. So anyway, thank you for listening and take care.